Let me put it in terms that I think the German audience would understand.
Yeah.
In 1946, the United States Secretary of State Barnes visited Stuttgart, and he delivered the very famous speech of hope. And what was that? It was essentially a speech that marked the end of the attempt to deindustrialize Germany and turn it into a pastoral state. It's what gave Germans hope that there would be recovery, and if they worked hard, then they could achieve normalcy.
Who should hold this speech of hope?
Chancellor Merkel.
What would you love to hear from her?
I would like to hear words similar, general words, like those of Secretary Burns, the purpose of which would be to say, okay, we had 5 years of a very brutal consolidation period. She would probably think it was necessary. We can differ on this. But from now on, austerity is not enough. From now on, cutting is not the way forward. From now on, we need two major things. We need investment in Greece, just like Germany had the Marshall Plan, and we need some rationalization of debt repayments so as to give investors, the Greek people, the German people, the Italian people, the idea in their mind that the Greek debt is sustainable again.
You think
so
that
as to create the flow of investment, the hope, to get Grexit off the table once and for all, forever, so that we can start growing, repay our debts, and at the same time deliver a message, an important message to the whole of the world, not just to Europe, that Europe knows how to deal with crisis in the long term.
You don't want to talk about Grexit anymore?
I don't think that anybody wants Grexit. Any monetary union which tolerates even a smidgen of the possibility that part of it is going to be chopped off, to be amputated, is a monetary union that is unstable. Nobody wants Grexit to remain there. And we should not be using Grexit, either our side or the other side, for strategic, tactical purposes as a blackmail device. That should simply end.
One problem is this misunderstanding between Germany and Greece. What is the reason of this misunderstanding and all those stereotypes, cliches, prejudices which came up?
To be brutally honest with you?
Yeah, be brutally honest.
We haven't told the truth to the Europeans, not just to Germans or to Greeks, about what happened in 2010. We keep telling Europeans that a lot of money was lent to the profligate Greeks to carry on spending and behaving badly.
Why did nobody control that?
What happened in 2010 was a bailout of the banks, a massive bailout of the banks, of German banks, French banks, and of Greek banks. And the hard-working people of Germany, the hard-working people of Greece, paid for the bankers' errors. And for our government's errors, but primarily for the bankers' errors, because it was the banks that went to the Greek government and lent all this huge amount of money. They were pushing this money down the throat of politicians who were very happy to take it. And then in 2010, a huge bailout of the banks was disguised as an act of solidarity towards Greece. So the average hard-working German hated the Greeks because they took his money or her money away. The Greeks hated everyone because they know that they didn't receive any money, that the money went to the banks. The hard-working Greeks of the 1990s, of the 2000s, never experienced any of the benefits of those loans. And those who did experience the benefits of those loans took the money out to Frankfurt, to Switzerland, and so on. And they are not subject to the bailout conditions, right?
It's a hard job, coming out of university, what you did before, going directly without any practical experience into this hard job. Did you do any mistakes in the beginning?
Only a fool claims that he hasn't made any mistakes.
That's
of course,
what I
we've
know.
made mistakes. But let me say this. Firstly, the notion that only seasoned politicians should get into politics is profoundly anti-democratic. Profoundly anti-democratic. Secondly, there is a major disconnect, and I think history is going to record this, between that which the press says that we did and that which we did do and did say.
Your wife said he's always walking on a minefield and doesn't have a real clue where the next mine could be. Is that the truth?
It feels like this sometimes, especially when it comes to the way in which my statements, my pronouncements, my policies are miscommunicated on purpose. So there's motivated miscommunication, a very concerted, especially here in Greece, but not only here in Greece, a very concerted effort to distort that which I say. So that is like walking through a minefield.
If it's a strategic misunderstanding of the others,
Yeah.
you don't want to learn the ways to find another way to communicate?
There's no other way of communicating than by telling the truth. But when the truth is constantly distorted and on purpose, for propaganda purposes, all I can do is to soldier on. I'm not going to do that which some would want me to do, which is simply to sign on the dotted line of an unsustainable memorandum like my predecessors did, so that I could become acceptable by the Wall Street Journal and the Financial Times again. I wasn't elected to do that. I don't care about whether they did, I would very much like to see them report honestly what I say and disagree with my views. What I find preposterous is that instead of engaging with my arguments and trying to debunk them, they misreport them. And I know why that is, because let's face it, the European establishment does not like a minister who doesn't say yes when in a state of indebtedness.
Let's talk a little bit about the situation in the European zone. It's not a place for big new ideas, people say, who are working in this system for quite a long time. It's more a system of rules, don't you? Yeah. Can you accept these rules?
Absolutely no.
No.
No. Let's get one thing straight. Rules are created to serve humanity, not the other way around. Humanity has not been born in order to respect the rules. We need to respect the rules to the extent that these rules help us navigate through social life. Let me give you an example. Okay, take the European Stability Mechanism. It's got rules. Well, they were created in the last 3 years. Why? In response to a new need. So as needs change, the rules have to adapt. If the rules fail to adapt to the needs of the citizens, then we have an iron cage in which the citizens are constrained. Let me just give you a very simple example. The idea that this country should, next year and the year after that, extract from the private sector a huge amount of surplus, 4.5% of GDP, just because it was agreed to in 2012, and that is the rule that we have to subscribe by. That is an anti-human rule, and it's not in the interest of Germany, it's not in the interest of Greece. Because if you try to impose it, it's a bad rule, the Greek economy will collapse, then we won't be able to repay our debts to Germany. And to say that we have to do it because it's in the rule book simply misses the point. The point is that the rules should be constantly adapting, because otherwise, like the dinosaurs, they're going to find themselves in a situation where they have been overpassed by life and they have destroyed the Union. What should happen for the benefit of Europe as a whole is just have an agreement that comprises a series of reforms, a settlement of the debt that has no haircuts and increases the present value of the money that the Germans will get back from the Greeks, the Portuguese will get back from the Greeks, and an investment plan for Greece. If that announcement is made in a press conference, including Chancellor Merkel, Prime Minister Tsipras, President Hollande, Mr. Juncker, Draghi, from the next morning, Greece will take off. And we will become a genuine success story. And a year from now, it will be a success story for Europe. And it could, in exactly the same way that 2010 marked the beginning of the Euro crisis, which then went to Ireland, Portugal, Spain, Italy, and so on, I believe that it could mark the turnaround for the Eurozone as a whole.
If there is not a way to help Greece, and if you really have to do it yourself, what happens then?
We can't do it ourselves. Germany can't do it by itself. France can't do it by itself. We're all in it together. It depends on the other side now. We've done our job. We've given them many concessions. Now it's up to the other side to decide whether they want a solution or not. And I very much fear that there are several forces at work that don't want a solution.